Hi, my name is Steve, and I'm the lean trainer at SnapCab in Canada. And I'm here with Glenn, the founder and CEO of SnapCab, and we're sharing some of our experiences from Japan. Glenn, one of the things you did for us was you've experienced Japan before, but this was all new to the rest of us that were going. And wisely you said, every day we're going to stop and share a little bit about what we learned and just to begin to process it all.
Right. And I don't know if you noticed, but I was pretty focused on capturing this experience. Mm-hmm. This is the fourth time that a SnapCab crew has gone to Japan, the third time for me that I've personally gone. And I've noticed that to go and have a real amazing experience and you come back by yourself and you try to implement it and people are like, oh, how was it? And you try to explain it to them and they're listening to you and they're just not getting it. And so what I wanted to do was create a video series where we're going to bring everybody with us to Japan and they're going to have the experience with us.
These little conversations, you set up for us, and it was really valuable for me because I missed some things. Mm-hmm. And so begin to see through other people's eyes was really beneficial for me.
Right. So these are our breakfast takeaways of what we got, so far in the trip. Mm-hmm. It was done over, I think, 3 or 4 different breakfasts. And I think it'll help set up for watching this video series of this trip because there's quite a few videos to go through. Listen to our takeaways and it's going to give you a hint what to look for as you're going through the experience as well.
So for me, what I learned from yesterday that I took as a takeaway would be pairing employees with a buddy. Going to the school, I see the kids are paired in, with another kids, and it made it, feel it's teamwork, building teamwork. So I think something we need to take away from this is how do we pair and potentially pair it with an expert if possible.
Don't you remember the same story at Tese? Pairing for 2 months.
Because the person feel they are supported. And going back to if you guys remember the analogy of the train, when you have an employee that just joined the first 2 months, they are put in the train in the middle, but they have support on the 2 sides. They always feel supported. So I think that's a good lesson for us. Then our employees feel, they can go and ask questions.
When we saw the school is making activities fun for everybody to make it seem like it's not work. We were watching students from grade, I believe 1 it was, and they were sweeping the floors and cleaning, and it was enjoyable. And the teachers weren't even really paying attention, and the work was still getting done because it was something that had to happen, but they made it fun.
So at the school, we kind of see the culture of kids working together, but the working together comes from the culture, but the working together develops the culture. And so I'm asking myself, what can we do to begin to develop more of a community mindset that way?
What I learned from the visit we had at the Tier 1 and Tier 2 factory yesterday, AVEX, it really stood out to me, first of all, how simple and standardized their visual cues were. Everywhere was orange. Even when you go and wash your hand in the sink, there was marked orange where you need to put the soap bottle there. So very simple.
In the bottom of the sink.
At the bottom of the sink, yeah. At the bottom of the sink. I'm assuming the tape is really strong because there's a lot of water there, right? But they marked it. It was so, even all their notice board had the same. I think it reminded me that everything was squared. There was no round or circle or anything, and it was across. It was very easily, when you walk, when you see the orange, you know that, okay, it's demarking something. So it was very interesting. Standardizing how we do things at SnapCab is very important. Then,
so that you don't have one way of marking things.
Exactly.
You have a standard of signage and standard.
Everything is standard. Exactly. That's what I mean. Signage, everything is standard. That's what came out of this.
I guess now I want to touch a little bit on the Toyota, the Loom Museum. As we watched it progress through its phases, the improvements that were made were based off of bottleneck situations that then they needed to put countermeasures in place so that way if something happened or a string broke, they had this little piece of steel come down and stop it so it doesn't just keep working and going forward.
The waste that he identified here was a defect. Exactly. So if you produce a defect, then all your effort is down the drain. So Sakichi said, how do we stop a defect? Now, I want to ask you a question. I don't know if you understood what he just showed you, but was that complicated or was that simple? That was ridiculously simple. A single thread put through a piece of metal, the thread breaks, boom, it stops the machine. That's it.
Forward, which is a great concept to put in any of our processes that we do, where you need to stop instead of keep going before you make it worse than it is, and you can fix it and have great quality and product go out the door.
But it was doing two things. They first understood the waste, and they were able to see it. I go, that's all they're doing is eliminating waste by seeing waste. But then I realized the key to making that happen effectively, this is the revelation I had, was the development of their people. They spent a lot of time teaching and training their people rather than just say, go eliminate waste. We just say, go eliminate waste. Don't you see the waste? No. You have to train people relentlessly to see waste every day in a morning meeting. And this is what changed for me. Everything is actually incredibly simple. There's nothing complex about it.
The other thing I want to touch on was that AVEX facility tour today. Just like the 10-minute safety sheets that they had up on all their machinery, and just giving quick visualizations and keywords on safety on that piece of equipment. That way, any new users or even frequent users have a little reminder of the things that could go wrong potentially and how they should be set so they don't. Really easy, and like Sahiza was saying, the nice tape on the corners was visually sticking out, so you knew what it was they were looking at.
So I'll touch on a little bit on our time at AVEX. Visually, it was quite impressive place. When you go, what struck me was when you go in, it's full of machines. I don't even know how many machines were there, but you could see all four walls because nothing was probably higher than 5 feet high. And then with all the extra lighting and the painted floors and walls, so bright and so clean for a place that should have been horribly messy. There's so much oil there. It was slippery, but it was so clean and so neat and tidy and organized. So you could see something on either all the machines. You see something belongs here or something's missing from here because everything's kind of marked. That was very impressive.
Talked about go and standing and watching, and we have pictures of everybody. Stand and watch the work that's actually just observe and trying to understand what's happening at the Gemba. And big emphasis on lifetime learning and being, work is not work if you're enjoying what you're doing. Then at AVEX, when we went into the factory, we were told you don't need to wear safety glasses because where you're going to be is going to be safe. So they really seemed to right size the amount of safety and instruction for what was needed in the area, and they seemed to use a lot of common sense. When you go to do something, but you're using too much information, you're going to actually hurt your process, not help it.
We started the day, we went to Mifune, I believe, a tier 1 and 2 factory. So things that I have learned and I noted that potentially could be useful to us at SnapCab that stuck to my mind. The first one is Gemba, how that is done. They started off the Gemba being very clear about 3 different values, I think, 0 defect, quality, so they call it Yoshi. So something we can talk about when we, if that's going to probably be helpful to us.
Kanban, the right product number, sample confirmation. Yosh. Good.
看板セバンサンプル確認よし
Yes!
So the next one really impressed me. They had a form, a checklist. Every employee check in the morning, and the intent, the purpose of this is to see what state of mind that employee is. I have a list of things that they have put on the form, and they would say, how are things at home? What is bothering you? Because they realize if there's something that bothers somebody at home, it might affect the quality of the product. So the checklist of employees, they do that every single day. And and this is the manager would look it up, they had A to E. If somebody had an E, the manager would go in, and that's a supporting the employee to make sure that, if everything going well. So I think that was a great checklist to have every day, every morning. And the last one was a Kanban system, something that the visual cues that we need to relook at SnapCap.
I guess for me too, in talking and thinking primarily about Mifune, where we were, how the attention to quality, everything needed to be, there's such a demand for a high standard of quality that they set in systems for checking the quality, seeing them and seeing the attention to detail and the quick systems that they put in place to assess the quality, to measure the quality.
See right here, Glenn? She's marking every point that she has to inspect, every well point, everything she needs to be conscious of to make sure quality is passed on to the next plate. She has to physically put a mark on it. So quality is your job. Quality, you never pass a defect on to the next place. This is your job. This is at the point that it's being done. It's being inspected.
Was very impressive and made me think that there was probably more I could have done when I was working in glass as far as being attentive to quality. They just kind of raised the standards so much for that. And attention to detail too, thinking about the strawberry place we went to and the grocery store we went to, just how much attention to detail, the cleanliness, processes, just thinking about like the grocery store, just thinking through like how what's the easiest way for people to flow through here? Where are the bottlenecks? What's slowing things down? What would make it easier? What would make it a nicer visit for people, an easier way of kind of going through the checkout? That's been very impressive to see.
So one thing that I took away from yesterday was the Japanese word hankaten, which is, I believe it was something that might hinder your quality within that day. So they had boards up where they would put in some things that might be changing that day, whether it was a custom piece or a tool change or somebody was visiting. It was just to get the team aware that there is a chance that there is going to be a defect in quality because there's change happening to their motion. With hankaten, with disturbing of motion, they would add indicators showing that there is change coming up before it happens. So for us, for example, when there is a custom job coming up in the schedule in that day, we could do, instead of our standard green binders, we could throw a red binder in there showing that this has different materials being used or anything. It's subject to change, and that's subject to a quality defect, and that we're going to put more attention and effort into it.
I think create a dojo.
And then there was the dojo.
Practice makes perfect.
Where I think our company is in need of a lot of training at the moment.
Our employees, some of the comment we had when they joined was, well, I really didn't understand the whole flow.
And I believe a space where people can learn and get trained in a fun environment is going to be something really great for our culture, because we want to have people come to work and enjoy their time at work and learn at the same time. So I found that yesterday when we were doing that, the parts were just laying down, and then you brought them over, and then you would fumble around. But by the second or third time, you were placing them in different ways, so that way when you turned around and got to the other station, it was almost ready to just click into place. And that gets the mindset clicking. So dojo, I think, is going to be an important thing for us.
Just quickly to add on to the dojo thing, I think it would be kind of a fun thing to have the SnapCab games. It's where we just have all these little competitions and hand out little trophies for different processes that we do and vary it up, and then we could have champions every year, and we'll get some gold spray paint and make a trophy of something.
I was trained at Lexus was that everybody wants to come in and change the way it's done to make it faster. That's not the lesson. The lesson is if you can do a standard and hold to a standard, once you've got this skill, then you can improve. So everybody wants to, let's move them closer together, let's do this, let's do that. That's not the lesson. The first lesson is, can you follow a standard?
But I'd like to build on what Jennifer was just saying here with something Sahiza was saying yesterday. We are doing a lot of these things, but what we should do is really do them consciously and with a lot more attention. The other thing, there was a discussion about technology, automation is not flexible, and you're better off having simpler equipment and using humans who are very flexible and can do different tasks easily. On the bus, Paul was talking about another Japanese concept called ikigai. And what ikigai is an individual having joy in doing the simple things like watching a sunset or having a cup of coffee. But ikigai is also, what's my life purpose and what am I here for? Am I achieving my goals? Am I achieving my purpose here on earth? So it's a really big concept about enjoying your life and having a well-spent life. And that's something I'd like to build into SnapCab for the employees.
Always be present. Something I'm taking away is totally present, in the moment. One of the best thing is it's not focusing on the outcome, it's focusing on what's next action. What is it that we're going to do next? Action. And then the word is action, right? And one very big one that I think overall, what is your routine? Right? We need to really get this ingrained in our system.
So yesterday we went to post office, and what I learned a lot from there is the importance of training, because a lot of these people, they follow the process and people are on board with all the things, the processes that they're doing, and that is because of the training, the successful training process they have.
The post office was a big one for me, is that every morning they do a practice walk around, a drive. They make sure the bike is in working order and that they're vigilant. They do that with their bikes, they do that with their cars. They implemented changes because of mistakes, like the boot one, for example. There was boots put on their side because somebody was hiding letters that they couldn't get out in time the day before, so they implemented a change.
The loom, which was over 100 years old, and again, just built carefully, intentionally, simply, and the quality continues. And so they're able to continue to use these machines over a long period of time. We also swung by a temple and saw a bonsai tree that was over 100 years old, and again, just carefully manicured. So just the attention to detail, the attention to quality allows them to have things, to run things in a safe manner and to run things for a long period of time. Just quality has so many benefits.
I think this entire group would say it's quite powerful to come and see all of these lessons that we're getting just naturally being done by people. That's just their way of life, but it's so productive the way their way of life is and the attitude that they go at.
So Glenn, that was a little smattering or a fire hose of some of the stuff that just a little bit of what we were processing every day on our trip in Japan.
Yeah, so that was like a little hors d'oeuvre before the meal. Are you ready for the meal? We got lots more videos to go.
Yeah, I look forward to going through all these videos with everybody.